The vast Pacific Ocean stretched endlessly beneath the tropical sun, its calm surface concealing the ferocity of one of the most brutal campaigns in modern military history. Across thousands of miles, scattered islands, many barely visible on a map, held decisive strategic value. Airfields, supply routes, and stepping stone positions toward Japan transformed these remote locations into battlegrounds where American Marines faced a determined and deeply entrenched foe. This was a Pacific War, a conflict defined by unforgiving terrain, unyielding resistance, and extraordinary sacrifice. By 1943, American forces had regained momentum after early setbacks at Pearl Harbor, Wake Island, and the Philippines. The U.S. Navy had turned the tide at Midway, and the concept of island hopping emerged as the central strategic doctrine. Rather than attacking every Japanese-held island, American planners aimed to capture only the most vital positions, airstrips, harbors, or locations within striking distance of the Japanese mainland, while bypassing others to isolate enemy garrisons. Each landing, however, brought its own peril. The Imperial Japanese Army and Navy had transformed many islands into labyrinths of fortifications. Dense jungle, coral reefs, hidden tunnels, cliffs, and volcanic rock provided natural defenses. Pillboxes, machine gun nests, artillery positions, and concealed bunkers amplified them. The Japanese defensive doctrine emphasized tenacity. Defenders were expected to hold their ground to the last man. Surrender was not part of their military ethos. As 1944 dawned, the American military prepared for its most ambitious assaults yet. The Gilbert and Marshall Islands campaign had demonstrated the cost of frontal assaults against fortified beaches. Now, attention turned to the Mariana Islands, Peleliu, and later Iwo Jima and Okinawa, targets essential for air operations against Japan. The success of these operations depended heavily on the U.S. Marine Corps, whose amphibious warfare capability had become the spearhead of the Pacific Advance. The night before each landing, the Marines gathered aboard transport ships, listening to briefings illuminated by red lamps. Maps detailed beaches marked simply as red, blue, or yellow. Officers described suspected enemy positions, but intelligence was often uncertain. Radio silence, camouflage, and the brutal environment hid much from aerial reconnaissance. Young Marines cleaned their weapons, wrote letters home, and tried to steady their nerves. They knew many would not return. Naval bombardments thundered across the horizon as battleships and cruisers fired heavy shells toward the islands. The sky glowed with tracer fire as carrier aircraft swooped in to destroy fuel depots, anti-aircraft guns, and communication posts. Yet beneath the layers of smoke and flame, Japanese soldiers remained hidden deep within caves and tunnels, shielded from a bombardment and prepared to unleash devastating fire once the assault troops reached shore. As landing craft descended into waves, Marines packed shoulder to shoulder braced themselves against the spray and shrapnel. Engines roared, metal ramps rattled, and officers shouted final instructions over the chaos. Many islands offered no friendly terrain to land upon, only reefs, jagged rocks, or narrow beaches under direct fire. The smell of cordite, diesel, and the humid Pacific air created a heavy atmosphere of anticipation. When the ramp slammed open, the Marines stepped into a wall of noise. Machine guns raked the water. Mortars exploded among the landing waves. Hidden snipers waited for moments of hesitation. The first minutes of each landing became a test of instinct, discipline, and raw courage. Even experienced units were shaken by the intensity of island-to-island fighting, where every advance was measured in feet rather than miles. Documentary accounts describe the overwhelming conditions. Uniforms soaked with seawater, weapons clogged with sand, oppressive heat, and the ever-present smell of smoke hanging over cratered landscapes. Yet the Marines pushed forward, knowing that the success of each operation would bring Allied forces one step closer to Japan and bring the war closer to its decisive end. By late afternoon of many of these assaults, beachheads were barely secured. Casualties mounted on both sides. Japanese counterattacks launched from concealed tunnels tested every gain, while American commanders assessed the harsh reality that the fight inland would be even more brutal. And as each island's jungles and ridges loomed ahead, one question echoed through every landing craft, command post, and foxhole. Would the Marines break through the enemy's fire and secure the island? Or would the Pacific's unforgiving battlefields consume yet another generation of warriors? As the Marines moved inland from the contested beaches, the true nature of the Pacific battlefield revealed itself. an environment shaped by heat, humidity, and relentless hostility. Every island was a world unto itself. Black volcanic rock, razor-sharp coral, thick mangrove forests, and jagged ridges transformed even the smallest advance into a grueling ordeal. The Japanese defenders had mastered the art of concealment, using caves, tunnels, and camouflage bunkers to create layered defenses that defied straightforward assault. The initial confidence generated by naval bombardment quickly faded. Many positions struck from offshore had been decoys or empty shells. The real fortifications lay deeper, invisible until they erupted with fire. Machine gun bursts ricocheted through palm groves, mortar rounds exploded in sudden clusters, and snipers targeted officers to disrupt coordination. The Marines learned that each step forward might awaken enemy fire from angles they could not predict. One defining feature of the Pacific Island battles was the absence of a clear front line. Japanese forces operated from interconnected tunnel systems, emerging suddenly behind advancing Marines or disappearing into darkness after launching an ambush. Entire platoons found themselves enveloped by crossfire as defenders exploited the terrain's natural contours. The result was a form of warfare that blurred traditional tactics and demanded extraordinary adaptability. Companies moved cautiously, relying on flamethrowers, demolition charges, and grenades to clear hidden strongholds. Flame teams, among the most heavily targeted Marines, advanced under immense risk, their fuel tanks vulnerable to enemy bullets. Yet their role proved essential in neutralizing reinforced cave complexes. Engineers used satchel charges to collapse tunnels, often fighting mere feet from the defenders. Despite overwhelming conditions, the Marines demonstrated resolve that became a defining characteristic of the Pacific Campaign. Small unit leadership often determined survival. Sergeants, lieutenants, and even corporals took command when casualties struck, directing fire teams through smoke-obscured terrain and coordinating combined armed support. These decentralized decisions, made under staggering pressure, shaped the course of many island battles more than any broader operational plan. Air support from carrier-based aircraft and naval gunfire remained crucial. Pilots flew low over the islands, targeting pillboxes and troop concentrations with precision. Their presence disrupted enemy reinforcements and allowed infantry to advance where otherwise pinned down. Meanwhile, offshore battleships continued their bombardment, adjusting fire through spotters located perilously close to enemy lines. Yet even with overwhelming firepower, the toll grew heavy. The fighting on islands such as Tarawa, Saipan, Peleliu, and later Iwo Jima, and Okinawa pushed human endurance to its limits. Casualties mounted not only from combat, but from disease, heat exhaustion, dehydration, and psychological strain. Marines often went days without rest, food, or shade, living among shell craters and shattered forests. The enemy, equally exhausted, continued to resist with steadfast resolve. Civilians caught within these battlegrounds also suffered deeply. Many island inhabitants fled into the interior, seeking shelter from bombardment and crossfire. Some Japanese commanders attempted to compel civilian participation in defensive operations, while others forbade surrender, creating tragic situations where non-combatants became trapped between advancing forces. American units, when able, provided medical assistance, food, and safe passage, but the chaos of battle made such efforts difficult. As battles progressed, the Marines gradually achieved tactical dominance. Key ridges, airfields, and communication centers fell into American hands. Engineers rebuilt damaged runways within days, allowing U.S. aircraft to operate from newly captured islands. These airfields became stepping stones, enabling bombing raids deeper into Japanese-held territory and tightening the strategic noose around Japan. By the end of each campaign, the cost was unmistakable. Casualties numbered in the thousands on both sides. Japanese units, adhering to strict orders to fight to the last, were almost entirely destroyed. The Marines, though victorious, carried the weight of unforgettable experiences. Comrades lost, harsh conditions endured, and memories etched permanently into their minds. Yet from these gains emerged a strategic transformation. Each captured island pushed the front line closer to Japan, shortened supply routes, and weakened the defensive perimeter that had once stretched across the Pacific. The courage, discipline, and sacrifice demonstrated on these remote battlegrounds directly shaped the path leading to the war's final chapters. The Pacific War would continue into battles even larger and more devastating. But the legacy of the Marines who endured these early and mid-war island assaults remained profound. Their story is one of resilience against overwhelming odds, a testament to determination in the face of fire, hardship, and an enemy willing to fight to the last breath. Their struggle carved a route through the Pacific, one island at a time, forging the momentum that would ultimately bring the war to Japan's doorstep and redefine the future of the region.